How's it going, everybody? Sean Ross here, and here is my review of RWBY Volume 5, Chapter 3, entitled Unforeseen Complications. Now, right off the bat, I just gotta say, Volume 5 with these past couple chapters, the first 3 in the volume have been really enjoyable for me. Like, I have been really liking the start of Volume 5, and definitely, the progression and just the way the story is moving forward is moving a lot faster than Volume 4 did, in my opinion. Like, I kind of felt that Volume 4 was more of a recovery volume. It took it slow. We had to recover from the traumatic event of the fall of Beacon, but right now, Volume 5 is like pedal to the metal. Let's get the plot moving. Let's get our characters where they need to go, and I am thoroughly enjoying that. And there's one section in particular in this chapter that I was looking forward to ever since the start of Volume 5, and that was the fated conversation that needed to happen with Oscar, Team Ranger, and Crow. We had that teased, at the ending of Chapter 1, and we really didn't get any of it in Chapter 2. So I was really hoping that Chapter 3 was going to deliver on that, and it did. We got a lot of new information on Ozpin. We actually come to know how long this actually has been happening to Ozpin. Is Ozpin even this guy's real name? That is still up in the air right now, but there's a lot of teases of information and knowledge within that little section, but it's the ending of that section with basically Kid Oscar, as Nora has coined him right now, about to train, Team Ranger, getting their skills up to par so that when they go up to fight Salem, they will be ready. That section just made this chapter for me, but there are also other sections in this chapter as well. There are 3 in total. The Oscar conversation, the one I just mentioned, basically takes place in the middle of this chapter. There's the section at the beginning of this chapter where we have Gihra, giving his speech to the island of Menagerie about the treachery of the White Fang, and then the last section of this chapter, pertains to Weiss basically caged in the middle of Raven's bandit encampment, where we get our first look at the Spring Maiden, or at least that's who we believe to be the Spring Maiden, which is basically 99% confirmed that is the Spring Maiden. But as soon as I heard the Spring Maiden speak, I knew that voice from somewhere, and as soon as the credits rolled and I looked to see who was voicing that character, it's Amber Lee Connors, who, if you guys have watched Dragon Ball Z Abridged, that is the voice actress for Android 18. So it was very nice to see and actually hear her voice within RWBY. There's actually a lot of Team 4-star members that have actually had either small or basically major roles now within RWBY, which I find to be very, very cool. But let's talk about these sections that kind of took place in this chapter. And the first one I definitely want to start off with is definitely, the Gihra speech to all of the island of Menagerie, because that right there basically was kind of like a recap for us, but it allowed him to basically tell all the Faunus what has been going on behind the scenes with the White Fang. It was very well spoken. Nobody actually knows basically what has happened with Sienna Khan yet, which I find to be actually very fascinating, because the news has not traveled yet that Adam has basically overthrown Sienna Khan and is now the ruler and leader of the new White Fang. Whatever, drastic measures they're going to be doing, they are now a radical group that really needs to be stopped, and that is basically made very apparent last chapter. But even with this, it really goes to show that the Faunus are really unaware about what is really going on right now with Adam, Sienna Khan, and the whole White Fang, uprising that is currently taking place. But one little interesting thing that I saw throughout this entire section was you notice that there was actually press at this little speech that Gihra was giving, and they looked really human to me. I didn't actually notice any Faunus-like features on these reporters. So if they were in fact human or Faunus, that is still up for debate, because if they were human, I don't really see them actually getting along with all the Faunus on Menagerie right there. So I find that section to be very, very interesting. And then a question I have during that section is, who is the messenger that Gihra sent to Haven Academy? That is a question I really want to know. Who is that character, and are we actually going to see them, interact with Team Ranger, Crow, and Oscar as he's making his way to Haven Academy? But after his little speech is given, Blake is about to come up and tell her story about the fall of Beacon, but it's at this moment Ilya comes up, disrupts the speech, and ends up planting seeds of doubt into every Faunus that is listening to the speech, letting them know about, the humans have not treated us well. The Belladonnas are traitors to the Faunus race. How can we actually, be equals with people that look down on us, that actually kill our race? And right there, that really adds a divide and kind of makes the crowd kind of unsure about who is right and who is wrong in this situation. Should we be peaceful against the race that has actually, been prejudiced against us and almost racist to us our entire lives? Or should we actually start an uprising and actually use violence to solve the means of something that peace was unable to solve? solve. So this section in particular with the whole White Fang debacle, I find to be very fascinating, where the story is going to be moving forward for the rest of the volume. And this is definitely adding a little bit of strife in between Ilya and Blake and their friendship that has basically been built up with both of them being involved in the White Fang. So I'm really excited to see the dynamic and how these characters start to interact after this chapter, because Blake and Ilya are very good friends back in the day, but are they really good friends right now that they are caught on opposite ends of the spectrum? So with that section out of the way, now comes the most fascinating section for me, which is the Oscar conversation. I loved this section to death. I've been waiting for this ever since Volume 5, was coming out, because I wanted to see Oscar interact with not only Crow, but Team Ranger as well. I just loved getting to see all of Team Ranger just crowding around Oscar, asking the questions, are you reincarnated? Are you just reverse aging? Like, what is going on with you having two souls and you being combined with Ozpin? Which kind of just brings all of the fandom theories from the RWBY fandom into this one episode, which I just really enjoyed to see. I got a good laugh out of that. But one thing that I loved about this section is that it definitely gave us a lot of new information about Ozpin, how long he's been doing this, which is apparently thousands of years, and that he can actually switch kind of like roles with Oscar, where you can kind of push him to the side and he can kind of take control of his body, and it allows him to actually talk to Crow and the rest of Team Ranger, which was really cool to see, because his voice didn't change. It still was the same voice actor for Oscar, but it was just talking in a very Ozpin-like tone, which I really enjoyed. But as the information goes on, and Oscar/Ozpin is basically explaining this whole debacle, like this whole thing that happens to him, that he can just basically get reincarnated, combine souls with another person, kind of get reincarnated over and over and over again, and has been doing this for 1,000 years. Basically, the gods have cursed him because he failed to stop Salem in the past, which kind of adds to another question: how old and how long has Salem been in the background within the world of Remnant? So this section definitely raises a lot of questions, and basically this all comes to a head in this section, to where basically Oscar/Ozpin is basically telling Crow, you need to gather some huntsmen that we can trust, and we're basically going to go about our mission, under Lionheart's nose, because he doesn't trust Lionheart right now. He's basically not following the orders that were left behind for him, so he is basically not trusting Lionheart as much as that he can throw him or see him. But the fact that Oscar/Ozpin is going to be training Team Ranger, I love this section too, because it actually gives a callback to the Yellow trailer about how RWBY is very bad with hand-to-hand combat, and then Ozpin also brings up the fact that Jean is unable to unlock his semblance yet. So they're still teasing Jean's semblance, which I'm really looking forward to seeing whenever that gets revealed, but it's just a matter of time until he finally unlocks it, and it's going to be like this huge reveal where the fandom is going to go crazy. This section, the Oscar/Ozpin section, makes this episode just so damn enjoyable for me. And one little side note, I love the good luck, bad luck joke that was put into that section as well, with Crow breaking the table and then Nora looking at him basically saying, hey, good luck. I love that little joke. But then we move on to the last section of this chapter, with Weiss being captured under Raven and her bandits. She's in a cage. She's trying to talk with these bandits, basically saying, like, you guys aren't going to get away with this. You won't be able to ransom me to Atlas, to my father, because Winter right now is in Mistral, and once she realizes that I am missing, she is going to come after me, and you guys are going to be in serious trouble. But as she's kind of talking with the Spring Maiden lets her know, it's like, no, your sister Winter isn't on Mistral anymore. She went back to Atlas because Ironwood, after closing the borders, called all of his troops to retreat back to Atlas. So no one's coming to rescue you right now. And I love how, like, as she's talking to Weiss, she's just holding her weapon and being very intimidating. So I'm actually really excited now that we finally got to meet the Spring Maiden, kind of learning more about her personality, what makes her tick, but then also coming to learn about her powers, because I want to know if a Spring Maiden's powers is different than a Fall Maiden's powers. Whether or not it's just like controlling the weather, whether or not it's different or not, I really want to know and get a little bit of a display, a sneak peek at what she is able to do, because she's had a decade after running away from Haven Academy to basically hone her skills. So I'm really looking forward to that. And basically, the ending of this episode or chapter ends, with Weiss summoning a very tiny knight to cut the ropes and try to escape, or at least that's what we're led to believe. But that's the cliffhanger we're left on with chapter 3, and this overall chapter or episode I really enjoyed. It's the Oscar section of this chapter that made this episode for me, and so far volume 5 has been off to a great start. 3 out of 3 with these past 3 episodes. They've just been so enjoyable, and volume Volume 5, I can't wait to see what Volume 5 has in store later on down the road. But that's my review for Chapter 3. I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts and take on this episode / chapter. Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. What was your favorite section that took place in this chapter? Was it Blake and Gihra giving the speech to the fondness of Mistral? Was it Oscar actually talking about, Ozpin's history to Team Ranger and Crow? Or was it Weiss in the encampment of Raven and her bandits talking with the Spring Maiden? So leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I love you guys so much, and I am really looking forward to Chapter 4 when it comes out next week. But until then, until Chapter 4, I'll talk with you guys later. See you later, guys.